right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's stretch and recovery. I am Coach Lindsay, and today is going to be all about hip mobility. Okay, so we're going to be doing a lot of different exercises and stretches, mostly for hip mobility, range of motion, getting that hip flexor inner and outer stretched out. So this is a good thing if you have, any hip issues, if you have any soreness or tightness after a walk or a run, this is a really good stretch for you. I will preface though that always consult with your doctor before performing any stretches or exercises if you have any special considerations in terms of a recent injury or a recent surgery with your hips. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Make sure that you have plenty of space around you. We won't need any equipment for this, maybe just a chair for the first few exercises. I have mine kind of tucked away for right now, but we'll bring a chair in here shortly just for a few of them. We are going to be doing some extra or stretches on the floor too, so be prepared for that. However, I'm not going to have you be going up and down. We're going to start with our standing stretches and then we're going to end with our floor stretches. So let's go ahead and get into the first stretch, which is called hip rotation. So this is where you might want to grab a chair if you have one. I'm just going to sneak over here and grab my chair, mostly just for stability. So you can do this stretch without the chair, of course, but if you need something to hang on to, go ahead and grab that. And we're just gonna do some nice, easy hip rotation. So what this looks like is I'm gonna start with my right leg, and we're just gonna take our leg up, out, and around, and back. And then we're back, out, and up. So really just opening that hip, just getting that good motion, range of motion in here, out and around. Another way you can do this as you're kind of standing next to the chair, you can also do it in front of the chair where you're bringing that knee up, out, and back, and then out and in. Whatever you find is easiest for you and your balance. We'll do a few more rotations here before we switch sides. Really just getting that opening of the hip. Awesome job. All right, go ahead and swap sides here. So shake out those legs if you need to. I'm gonna turn to the side for this one because it tends to be a little bit easier for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and again, with that left leg, we're gonna come up, we're gonna come out, behind, and then out and in. Nice and slow here. Go to whatever range of motion you feel is best for you. That's gonna stay true for every stretch of this entire series today, is just doing what feels best for you. That's all what stretching is about, is making sure that it feels good. Awesome job, mighty family. A couple more rotations here and then we'll move on to the next stretch. And last time in. Awesome job. Shake those legs out. Should feel the warmth in your outer hips now. We're gonna move into straight leg hip circles. So you might wanna kind of keep your chair close by for this one, totally up to you. But I'm gonna start with my right leg, and we're just gonna basically pretend like we have a marker in between our toes, and we're drawing a circle, okay, on the floor. So nice and straight. We're just taking that leg in a circle here. You can stay kind of on that leg for balance, or if you need to kind of regain your balance, do another circle, regain, that's totally fine. But again, we're just getting that hip opened up here for these first few stretches. Getting into a little bit more dynamic stretching, and then we'll end with more static stretching. So as a reminder, dynamic stretching is kind of stretching within a movement, and then that static is just holding that deep stretch, which is probably all of our favorite. All right, mighty family, go ahead and switch sides. So again, regaining your balance if needed, taking that left leg nice and straight, and then just kind of drawing a circle here with your hip. So figure out your range of motion. You can come all the way up, or you can just do a little circle here. I kind of like to go in the middle. Awesome. Hands on the hips, hands out to the side, hands on the chair, whatever is most comfortable. And we're here for about 5 more seconds, mighty family. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job. Shake those legs out. And the next stretch we're gonna do is a standing hip flexor stretch, okay? So we've all probably done these kind of similar to a warrior pose in yoga. So I'm gonna start with my left foot, and it's gonna take a step forward here. My toe is gonna point straight in line with my body. My back foot, my foot is going to kind of point forward this way, okay? So you're gonna have your feet pointing almost two different directions. We're gonna wanna turn towards our forward foot, and then we're just gonna sink into it, okay? So you might need to take a little bit of a wider step if you don't feel it at first, but this back leg should be completely straight. The front leg should just be slightly bent. And then you're gonna feel that stretch right here in the front of your hip flexor. So just sink into this. Take it wider if you need to, or narrower if you need to as well. And we're just gonna hold this for about 20 more seconds. Deep breaths, really focus on your breathing through these stretches. Try not to pulse or rock back and forth with these, just really hold that stretch here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and bring yourself back to center. Same thing on the other side. So we're gonna take that right foot forward this time. Foot should be facing forward. And then we're gonna take this back foot, place our foot straight and out in front, okay? Once you have your feet positioned, take your foot about as wide as you need to allow yourself to sink into that stretch. This is where you can also use your chair too, to kind of get that deeper stretch. Completely up to you. Nice and tall. You can even bring in your yoga style and bring those arms out, or you can keep them on your hips. Awesome job, Mighty Family. 10 more seconds here for this stretch. Deep breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job. Bring yourself back to center. Next stretch we're gonna be doing is a standing figure 4. So I will show you what it looks like standing. Also know that you can do this in the chair, and I will show you that modification as well. The standing figure 4 tends to utilize a lot of muscles in the legs that maybe you just don't want to or are not ready for. So have that chair close by, because you will absolutely need your chair for this stretch. So what this looks like is I'm gonna start with my right foot. It's going to come on top of my left leg, okay? So ankle should be right on top of your knee. And then what we're gonna do with this is just take a seat, okay? So back as far as you can, and you should feel this in your outer hip, inner thigh, okay? So keep holding this if you choose to do it standing. If you choose to do it in a chair, very similar, okay? So take a seat. That ankle is gonna go right on top of that knee. I guess we'll keep with the same side here. And then that knee is gonna get pushed down, okay? So either one works. For the purposes of today, I like to do the standing one. So I'm gonna get myself back into that standing stretch here. And together we're gonna hold for about 10 more seconds. Nice tall posture, nice tall back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back up. Shake those legs out. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, okay? So when you're ready, left leg comes up, resting that ankle right there on the top of your knee. Make sure you have a good grip on your chair. And then we're just kind of sinking, pretending like you're sitting down, just until you start to feel that nice stretch on the outer hip there. This is probably one of my favorite hip stretches, especially after a walk. Awesome job, Mighty Family. If your quads and your legs are starting to get a little sore, feel free to come up, let them rest for a second, and then sink right back down into that stretch. We've got about 5 more seconds here holding this. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job, Mighty Family. You can probably toss that chair aside if you've been using it. You won't need it very much for the rest of the stretch class today. So the next thing we're gonna be doing is, this will be the last standing stretch that we do, and we're just gonna do a crisscross toe touch, okay? So I'm gonna start with my right leg. It's gonna come up over my left, just like if you were doing like a grapevine, okay? And then you're gonna keep your legs, for the most part, straight, a little bend in the knee, and then we're just gonna try to touch our toes. So it's gonna feel a little awkward at first. You'll feel a little bit wobbly here, but go down as far as you're able to. And this you're gonna feel kind of in your hamstrings, but we know we want to stretch those muscles that also support the hip joint. So it's not always going to be specific to your hip. You're going to have stretches with all areas of the leg. Deep breaths here. Try to sink down a little lower here as we hold for the last 10 seconds. Awesome job. 3, 2, and 1. Roll yourself back up. Shake those legs out. And same thing on the other side. So take that left leg now, cross it over your right. Do this from the side a little bit so you guys can see the side view. And then when you're ready, slight bend in the knees. We're just coming nice and forward, really getting that outer hip and hamstring stretch in here. Deep breaths. Just let your body hang. Awesome job, mighty family. Sink down a little lower if you can. Nice big deep breath. And we'll hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll yourself back up nice and slow. Awesome job. All right, now we're gonna take ourselves to the floor. So if you need some extra cushion for underneath of your knee, I would encourage you to grab a pillow or some type of pad right now if you need it. For me, I have a handy dandy little foam mat here that I tend to really like. So you can use something very similar. And the next stretch we're gonna do is a runner's lunge, okay? So we're gonna come down into a lunge position, prop that pad up underneath of that knee if you need it. So once you have this runner's lunge position here, take that front foot forward, just a tad, little bit wider than a 90-degree angle here. Hands are gonna go on your hips, and then you're just gonna sink forward, okay? So the key here is kind of tucking your butt underneath of you versus just leaning forward, okay? Because we really want to get that hip stretch here in our hip flexor, okay? So tucking that bottom underneath, nice and tall posture, and then take that lean forward here. Great job, mighty family. Really sink into that stretch. See if you can't dig a little bit deeper into that stretch there. Play around with that range of motion. It's always okay to adjust in the middle of a stretch so that you can kind of play around with what feels good, where you go too far, all of that stuff. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back to whatever neutral position looks like on the floor. And same thing on the other side. So again, if you're still using that pillow or pad, keep holding on to that. Get in that runner's lunge position here. Tuck that mat up underneath of your knee if you need to. That padding really helps. Take that front foot nice and forward here. Nice, little bit wider than that 90-degree angle here. And once you have this position, go ahead and just let yourself sink into it. Again, tucking that butt underneath of you. We're not leaning forward here. We're nice and tall. And then take that stride forward here. Nice stretch here in the hip flexor. Here you can have your hands on your hips. You can have them on your knee to kind of allow yourself to push a little bit more forward. Kind of play around with that hand position. If you're really feeling exciting and want to dip into a deeper stretch, you can take your hands and place them in the middle or in front of your foot there, and then sink even deeper into it, okay? So play around with the different positions, kind of whatever you feel is best. Nice job, mighty family. Try to sink in a little bit further into this lunge. We've got about 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job. All right, mighty family. Taking it into what we call a zigzag stretch, okay? So I'm gonna show a few modifications because this one can get a little bit interesting if you don't have super loose hips, okay? So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start sitting like this, right? So if you can kind of see, I guess it doesn't make sense for me to wear black leggings on a black mat, but this first foot is gonna come out in front of you in like an L shape. Same with your back leg, okay? Your back leg is gonna go the opposite direction in an L shape. So zigzag. Now hold this stretch. If you find that either having your front leg is too much, you can kind of sit up on that heel and just keep that back leg zigzagged. That's a modification. Similarly, if that back leg is kind of not doing so well, keep your front foot zigzagged and just bring that back leg in a little bit closer and get that outer hip stretch in that front leg, okay? So this is kind of a double whammy. You're getting the outer of your front leg and the inner of your back leg if you can get this stretch completed, okay? So nice and tall, deep breaths here. Play around with your leg movement. Great job, mighty family. Nice deep breaths. Awesome job. Holding on to that stretch, nice and tall. A little bit of core engagement here. And we're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back up to a comfortable position, nice and slow. And same thing on the other side, okay? So that front leg is going to come down just like this. Okay, so 90-degree angle ideally, but if you need to bring that leg in closer, that's fine. And then that back leg, similar 90-degree angle here with that back leg. So remember the modifications I showed you earlier. You really should start to feel that stretch all the way in that inner thigh of the back leg and the outer thigh of that front leg. If you're not feeling it in that front leg, bring that foot out to that 90-degree angle, then you'll feel it. A little bit of flexibility here in this stretch. Nice big deep breaths. Really sink into that stretch here. Great job, mighty family. And we're here for about 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Awesome job. Now we're gonna do my favorite stretch. We get to lay on our back, because who doesn't like to lay on your back? Just don't take a nap quite yet. So with this stretch, go ahead and lay down on your back here. And what we're gonna do is some knee hugs with some circles, okay? So what this looks like is I'm gonna take my right leg first. I'm gonna cup my hands around my knee. My bottom leg can either lay straight or it can kind of stay up. Totally up to you and your range of motion. Then we're just gonna lay down nice and flat here, and we're gonna hug that knee towards our chest. Really feeling that in the inner hip area, the hamstring, the glute. And then when you feel ready, just rotate that hip out to the side and hold here for about 3 seconds. And then rotate it back in. So we're gonna kind of do another dynamic stretch here of having that knee hug nice and neutral, taking it slowly outwards, really feeling that glute stretch and hamstring stretch, and then back in. Awesome job, mighty family. Nice and easy here. Don't go too far. Pay attention to your range of motion. And we'll swap legs here in about 10 seconds. Three, 2, and 1. Go ahead and lengthen those legs out. Shake them out, elongate that spine if you want to, and then same thing on the other leg. So take that knee up, hug that knee towards your chest, and then we're just gonna rotate outwards and then inwards. Just letting that hip joint roll slowly around as you do this motion. Flat on the ground with your back, and that bottom leg can either be up like I have it, or you can have it straight down. Awesome job, mighty family. Nice and slow. See if you can't hug that knee a little closer to your chest. Get a deeper stretch here for the last 5 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job, mighty family. Last stretch, we're gonna get into a child's pose. This is one of my favorite hip stretches, kind of my favorite stretch to honestly do at the end of anything, okay? So we all probably know what a child's pose is, but if you don't, we're gonna start on all fours here. Our feet are gonna be flat on the ground here. We're gonna take our hips a little wide, and then we're just gonna sink back, okay? So you're gonna feel that nice stretch in the outer hip, the inner thigh. And then if you wanna take it down here, get that forehead down on the mat. We're just gonna sit here for about 30 seconds, really just letting yourself breathe, shift around if you need to, settle into that child's pose. Great job, mighty family. Hold for about 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, 1. Slowly walk yourself back up. You can stay seated, you can get on your knees, you can stand, whatever you feel ready for. But thank you so much for joining me for today's stretch and recovery on hip mobility, and I will see you all here next week. Have a great day.